Remedy is yet another company within the video game industry that is facing major issues. Alan Wake 2 only started turning a profit this year in 2025, and their latest launch, FBC Firebreak, was a complete and utter disaster. I mean, it was seriously dead on arrival. But now there's a lot of information being leaked about their focus on DEI initiatives, the CEO stepping down, and really how they are facing major problems internally. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, follow me on social media, and consider supporting the channel through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, of course, everything you see online should be taken with a hefty grain of salt. Sometimes, yes, there is information that does sound pretty bad about a company, but then they come out and say, well, that's not necessarily true, though in this case, it is very hard to believe otherwise. Remedy has faced some major issues over the years with Sweet Baby Inc. boycotts, them putting out really mediocre products, and them just disappointing their fan base. But now we're hearing a lot of really bad information about them and their focus on DEI initiatives, their CEO stepping down, and really how it doesn't sound like Remedy can come back from this situation. It doesn't sound like they can fix their image. So, at the Kingard YT over on X did decide to post this again. A smaller account, take everything with a grain of salt, but at the same time, this is getting quite a bit of traction. There are multiple sources saying that they can corroborate this, but they said, fine, I'll breach NDA. They can't pin any damages nor financial loss on me that they haven't already suffered upon themselves, despite Remedy's community manager publicly likening critics to bigots and calling for less white male content creators to cover their games with no consequences from Remedy. I still participated in the playtest and left feedback to FBC Firebreak. A term for doing so was signing an NDA that forbids you from even mentioning you participated or discussing what you saw. Now, first of all, this is absolutely wild, but not shocking about the state of the video game industry, that you have community managers and developers and sometimes even game directors who say, F the chuds. We don't care about our audiences. We don't care about making everybody feel welcome. Oh, we only want certain people to play our games. Oh, we only want to support certain creators. And in this case, they're basically saying anybody criticizing them are bigots. They want less white male content creators covering their games, which is wild. When you are a company, you need as much press as possible, and you would think that they would be glad to get certain coverage from any creator. It's like with Ghost of Yote. I was actually offered a code by Sony and one of the firms that they work with, even though I had rejected them. They still came back and gave me a code, even though I had criticized their game for months leading up to release. Now, maybe they didn't do their due diligence. Maybe I was put on a random list. I don't necessarily know. But at the same time, even a company like Sony is looking for their critics to play their games because they know it's free press. When I saw a game that so clearly wasn't made for anyone, it was just mind-boggling. It was even being made by a company that had just been in headlines for struggling to hit Alan Wake 2 profits. Now, I had streamed a full playthrough of Alan Wake 2 on the channel, and I was so massively disappointed. I loved Alan Wake 1. I thought it was so unique. I thought it was so cool and so fun. And so I had a lot of hype for the sequel, and it was just really disappointing. I didn't even think that Saga was like the worst character ever, but the woman saving the man who the story is about was really irksome. Then knowing Sweet Baby Inc.'s involvement really turned me off from supporting them again in the future, and that's why I personally stayed away from FBC Firebreak. Now, Alan Wake 2 only started turning a profit this year in 2025. Alan Wake 2, one of Sweet Baby Inc.'s infamous gaming victims, has finally started turning a profit more than a year after launch. However, its developer Remedy, a continued SBI partner, is still operating in the red. So this was only in February of 2025, and we know that, Remedy is not the largest studio within the video game industry, but they still felt confident enough to put quite a chunk of change towards something like Alan Wake 2. And from what rumors say, also FBC Firebreak. They were hoping that this was going to be a pretty big hit, but FBC Firebreak had an all-time peak 4 months ago of 1,992 players. From release, it had problems with servers and lobbies, and in-game right now is 13, so this game was completely dead on arrival, and even though it's got over 1,000 reviews, it's not even like it was sitting at an overwhelmingly positive. Both the recent reviews and all reviews are sitting at mixed, so it's definitely not a positive picture. Though, going back to the X post about the topic, it needed more story, creativity, and I told them that it's not going to appeal to their core fans, and it's not going to appeal to genre players either. I wasn't the only one. Many others did too. Turns out I was right. It's still sitting at under 20 players on Steam right now with a CEO stepping down. Maybe if they spent less time chasing live service money and DEI initiatives, I do not say that lightly, there's well-documented proof that there has been a massive priority for them. Maybe they'd have the wherewithal to recognize this game was going to flop. And yeah, it is pretty well documented that Remedy's focus over the years has been DEI initiatives. And as I always say, diversity when done naturally is a great thing. But when you sit down and you race swap characters like Saga, who was previously white, and you turn her into a black woman in order to check off boxes on a checklist, yeah, that's going to infuriate people. When you sideline the lead male character for a female, yeah, that's going to upset people. And it doesn't seem like they were ever really focused on making games for gamers. They were focused on making games that were supposed to make statements, and that very rarely works nowadays. Now, all of this stems from Remedy's CEO stepping down with immediate effect 2 weeks after the company issued a profit warning due to weak sales of FBC Firebreak. And I don't necessarily think it's only this CEO's fault. I also think that the developers just made a pretty mediocre game. It was a game that didn't capture a lot of people's attention, but when you look at the CEO, he's greenlit several projects that have completely and utterly failed. And so, with that news on top of everything else that we're hearing in this post, wow, gamers are very heated about this topic, which I think is so interesting. Endymion said Alan Wake 2 is DEI slop, and hilariously, the band in that game, Old Gods of Asgard, once tried to copyright my video because I used footage of the game from a cutscene featuring them from a copy of the game I bought, and the only reason why they copyrighted it was because I showed proof they race swapped Saga due to Kimbalair and SBI. I refuted their copyright and they removed it because they knew what they were doing was wrong. Remedy is a mess. I already know they hate me, but at this point I could frankly care less. The Ship of Theseus. Is anybody at Remedy today the people who made Max Payne 1 and 2, Alan Wake 1, or even Quantum Break? It's an almost completely different set of people, so of course they have different ideas about what makes a game good. And yeah, their definition of what makes a game good is having 5 people in game, which is hilarious. As a massive Alan Wake fan, I am really baffled at how Lake and Remedy have mishandled the Remedyverse franchise. It's clearly that they let the accolades of Wake 2 get to their heads. I was all in on getting this game, so I didn't have to wait 14 years for Wake 3, which of course seems to be on Alice saving Alan, bringing the story full circle. I don't think that they're going to make an Alan Wake 3 at this damn point. I mean, the game just started turning a profit. It is sad that this company is the one that made Control. Yeah, I had also been talking about some of the devs, and some of them don't take the warnings and criticism well and just block me. Hopefully the new CEO will bring actual positive changes to Remedy. Firebreak was so bad, my co-op group made a vow of silence to never talk about it again. I've never even heard of this game before. The beta test was very boring after a few hours. I haven't tried it out yet due to many other games coming out, but I can't say I'm surprised by the state of the game, and at this point, you can't even really play it because there's nobody else that's playing it. Give us feedback. No, not like that, which is just so funny, but also so true. These companies claim that they care about feedback and they want feedback, but then they ignore our feedback, and so we stop giving them feedback, and then they say, oh my gosh, we didn't know people didn't like this game because nobody told us, but you guys are the ones who weren't listening to us for years and who pushed us away. So So I'll definitely be keeping my eye on Remedy and the new CEO and what's going on over there. But a lot of posts are now being made against them, trashing their focus on DEI initiatives, the CEO stepping down, and a lot of people simply saying these people are so toxic now, there's no way they're going to get my money again in the future. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this important and informative, make sure to give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.